Hey everybody, it's Dean Taraborelli, and I'm coming at you today from the stupa in Sedona, Arizona, and we're so blessed to have a stupa. And anyway, just needed to come here today to kind of get a higher perspective. So, wanted to share a little bit today and talk about kind of this root cause, at the fundamental level, this virus thing, and I hate to keep talking about the virus thing, but it's such an important mirror for us, no matter how you're taking it in. As have shared, there's some people that think it's coming to get them in any moment, and there's some people who think, well, it's inevitable, and let's just try to make it through it, and maybe the statistics don't point to the kind of response that we're getting, and everything in between. But myself, I am in the addiction world, and I've spent my whole life struggling with addiction up until about 20 years ago. And wanted to share a little bit about that because it's a direct correlation to what's going on right now. So back in the day, I was drinking too much, and one thing leads to another, and they say, well, go to rehab. So I go to rehab, and I follow instructions to the T, right? I want to get well. I want to find out what's going on. So I'm going to all these meetings, and I'm going to all these groups, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm on some medication. And I followed instructions right up until the time that I got high again. And then I go to more treatment, and then my addiction gets worse, and I've got this horrible heroin habit going, and and I had sought out the best possible advice and followed it, right? I've been to treatment to some of the best treatment centers that money can buy at that time, and still considered top-notch treatment centers. And so I had the experts, and I followed the instructions again to the T, but I couldn't get well. And I remember most of those were 12-step programs, and there was Bill Wilson, who, one of the founders of AA, and actually sort of the founder, right? But, of course that was taken from Oxford and other places. But nonetheless, he's the guy that kind of pulled it all together. But he talks about alcohol not being the problem. It's a symptom. And that's kind of struck me. And one day I'm like, you know what? I'm going through all this treatment. I'm $10 zillions of dollars later, and I'm not getting better. Maybe I'm not getting to the symptom, or maybe not getting to the root cause. So I go on this exploration and uncover the root cause and have been healthy and well ever since. So I'm translating that into what's going on now with the virus. And, hey, some people think that this thing is going to come get them. There's going to be millions of people dead. And from what I understand about the virus, people that have pre-existing medical conditions are much more susceptible to getting sick and having severe symptoms from the virus. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, we can have a vaccine, we can social distance, we can wear the mask, we can wear the gloves, we can do all of these different things. But really, as far as I know, my whole immune system is in my gut. So why wouldn't I be focused on my gut? So, and we know now statistically that a lot of people that are susceptible to COVID, diabetes, people that are obese in particular. So these are inflammation issues. If my entire immune system is in my gut, why aren't I focused on that? And why isn't the powers that be, the medical system, talking about stop eating all this junk food? And interesting, Mark Hyman shared one day, he was giving a lecture at this program that I was at, and he said, there's no such thing as junk food. There's junk, and then there's food. There's not junk food. And that really, again, struck me. And it's like the things that people are putting in their mouths are directly making them sick and susceptible to this virus. So let's just come out and say it. I think that people can become aware. And I talked to my clinical coordinator about this the other day. And, this is a woman who's a PhD psychologist and I mean, she's also a shamanic teacher, and I mean, she's been around the block. She has such a holding of so many things. And I said, well, why aren't they talking about this? And she's like, well, doctors don't know. And I'm like, well, if doctors don't know, then maybe we need different doctors that do know, because, again, my whole immune system in my gut, this is an immune situation, and somebody's going to be shoving a vaccine down my veins. And I'm not sure that I want to do that. If we need to, of course, we will. But as I shared on one of my previous discussions, my biology, my DNA, my immune system is the product of hundreds of millions of years of evolution on this planet. And I'm going to trust some guy in some laboratory, even if he's got the best of intention, and he's now under pressure to create a vaccine in a year. So I don't know that I trust that. If it's the last effort, then hey, great. So healing at the root level, and we can apply this to pretty much anything. Right now, the financial system in the United States, right, another $5 trillion went in the other week for the remedy. Who's all getting it, right? Well, just check out the usual brokerage houses, right? And check out the usual banks. And this seems to happen again and again, but nonetheless, $12 trillion injected to the U.S. economy. They're pumping money in the stock market like it's going out of style, and I understand, but that's all handling the symptom. The problem is we're based on a fiat currency that's valued and matched against nothing. So that system is unsustainable in the long run. Our medicine, in some ways, is about sick care. It's not about health care. Healing people and having them get better is not a profitable business model. And again, this is no conflict, no controversy. It's just what's going on. And maybe time that we started looking at getting past symptom management. What happens is when we are in fight or flight, this is a trauma response, so fight or flight, all I'm looking for is to survive. So every single day in the news, we hear more deaths, more this, more cases, more that, more this, more that, more fear, more terror. And of course, all I'm looking for is to survive. Hey, if somebody's got a gun sticking in my head, I'm not really thinking about the higher, loftier things. I'm thinking about just how do I get out of this situation. It's helpful because, if I don't survive, then nothing else really matters. So that's why our survival circuitry is so deeply rooted in our limbic brain. The problem is when we're there, I don't have access to my prefrontal cortex. That's where the new ideas, the new systems, the new way of looking at things are going to come from. So I'm trapped down in this survival place. And if I think about survival, my choices in survival are much more narrow than my choices up in creativity in my prefrontal cortex. So I think that this is what's in the addiction world, finally talking about, okay, so if alcohol is just a symptom, what is a symptom of? And we find people that come to the sanctuary, there is always something going on. People say, my life was fine until this one thing happened. And as we do the exploration, we realize, well, it wasn't so fine, right? There were all these things that were like skeletons in the closets, things that I could glance over, things that I could ignore, but they pile up. And all of the things that signal my body to either upregulate or downregulate, that's called epigenetics. So my environment has a lot to do with how healthy I am and my response to the environment. And a lot of our environment is right in our minds right now. So I think for all of us watching, hopefully, time to get down to healing at the root cause. Because if my immune system is working at capacity, then I don't really have to worry so much about viruses and flus and getting sick as much as people who have compromised immune system. This is kind of like in the psych med world. Back in the day, people said, well, oh my God, you don't have enough serotonin, so let's give you a serotonin reuptake drug, which slows down the decaying an enzyme. It takes away the enzyme that decays serotonin in a synapse, so keeps serotonin up in your brain a little bit longer, because that's the problem, even though that's never been proven. We can't measure how much serotonin is supposed to be up in the brain. But again, talk about symptom management. serotonin is made in the gut. So again, if my gut's compromised, I can, let's go with it. These things are anecdotal that, hey, it's a serotonin issue, and that's fine. But nonetheless, take the drug, but if I'm not dealing with the production plant, I'm missing a powerful opportunity. And again, a lot of our medicine is about symptom management. And you have to give doctors credit. This is not finding fault with anybody, because doctors right now don't have the same time. They can't diagnose in the same way because of insurance and other things. They have a very limited time with people. So they have to help this person. This person's in pain. Give them something to feel better, right? So that's usually a symptom management drug or strategy. And they don't have time to go deeper. So if we can heal cancer and people have spontaneous remissions and people can get over, we get people coming to the sanctuary. It's often the last stop, right? People say, you know what, if this doesn't work, we had a person that was going to go to this euthanasia clinic in Switzerland to end their life if the sanctuary didn't work. And we get a lot of people like that. And for the most part, these people walk out the door with a whole new lease on life because they've worked out the underlying problems, the underlying inflammation, the underlying issues either physically, emotionally, or externally, and all of a sudden they can take a new direction in their lives. If that is the case in people that are in that desperate of a situation, doesn't that apply everywhere? So hopefully this was some help, and just sending everybody great blessings today, and thanks for listening, and may you find your root cause, because once you find the root cause of your discomfort, it doesn't only heal it once and for all. It opens up the doorway for all of that energy that you haven't been invested, all the coping strategies to just try to feel better and keep your life under control, just to kind of stay stable and safe and secure. And these are all unconscious. Once that's all free and you can use that for creativity, man, the sky's the limit. So have a beautiful Friday, and love from the Stupa in Sedona, Arizona, and we'll see you next week. All right, many blessings.